today. What are you doing? Right, I know, but this is, we got to talk about this one. Okay, so we're going to talk about the execution that's going to happen for one man named Jeremy Williams. Now, he is responsible for the death of, I hope you can hear me okay. Let me know if you can't. I hope you can hear me. Anyway, he is responsible for the death of Kamari Holland. This child was 5 years old. Her mother is also in prison for 20 years for child sex trafficking. Her mother accepted $2,500 from Jeremy Williams, and in exchange, the mother allows Jeremy to sexually abuse this child. Thank you, Pam. To sexually abuse this child and then take the child's life. Now, on top of that, Jeremy Williams, over here, the pig that he is, kept her body and just abused it for a few more days, because he could. And to top it all off, every bit of this was on film. He taped it. That's the kind of sick son of a bitch we're talking about right here. So let me go ahead and give you my fair use, and then we'll get into this because we are going to watch some videos and that kind of thing this afternoon. I'm going to give you a trigger warning because it's real hard to listen to, all right? This content may contain copyrighted material used for purposes including commentary, criticism, news reporting, education, research, and public interest discussions. Under Section 107 of the U.S. Copyright Act, fair use permits the use of copyrighted material in certain circumstances without permission from the copyrighted holder. The material presented herein is used in a transformative context to provide analysis, commentary, and criticism, reporting and discussion, rather than to simply reproduce or replace the original work. Any copyrighted images, video, audio, documents, or other material remain the property of their respective copyrighted owners. No ownership of third-party copyrighted materials is claimed. The amount and type of copyrighted material used is intended to be limited to what is reasonably necessary for the purpose of commentary, criticism, reporting, education, and analysis. No copyright infringement is intended. And there you go. That is our fair use disclaimer. Now, let's go ahead and talk about this. On December the 13th of 2021, Kamari Holland was reported missing. Now, let's go back. We know it's always like that. Oh, my child's missing, right? But on top of that, there's always CPS. CPS has been involved in their life. They've had all kinds of problems with maybe a step parent or that kind of thing. It's always the same thing. And then finally the child is missing, but the child is not missing, and everybody knows it in the family anyway. So we're going to talk about this concerning story today that started on December the 13th of 2021 when Kamari Holland was reported missing. Now, investigators quickly identified Williams as a suspect. Evidence recovered at his duplex and a shed tied him directly to the crime. He later admitted to guilt and pled guilty to 4 counts of capital murder. 4 counts of capital murder. Now, so the whole story is about Jeremy Tremaine Williams. He was convicted in the 2021 rape and murder of 5-year-old Kamari Holland, a crime he recorded on his cell phone. His execution is set for tonight at Holman Correctional Facilities in Atmore. Okay? Now, let's talk about the trial and the automatic review, because every case, every death penalty case gets an automatic review. Okay, so even though Williams pled guilty and refused to present any mitigations, Alabama law still requires automatic appellate review in capital cases. The Alabama Court of Criminal Appeals affirmed his conviction and death sentence on March 27th of 2026. Hello, Leslie. How you doing, girl? Thank you, Pam, for coming in. Appreciate you guys. I know you're going, gee, I've seen you so much today. I know, but it was important. I wanted to talk about this case because it's so disgusting. It is so, I can't wait for them to do this. This man, and it's a good thing he never really appealed his case on his own. He decided to accept his fate because he knew what he did was the most horrible thing a person could do. Now, I'm going to play this little segment right here. It's going to be thanks to WTVM. It's a little news station, and they're talking about this execution. So let's go ahead and play this right here, and then we'll get started. So let me make that bigger, and I hope it's not too loud. I've been having to mess with my sounds today. Okay, here we go. Okay.
The state of Alabama is preparing to execute today the Phoenix City man convicted of rape and murdering 5-year-old Kamari Holland in 2021. Jeremy Williams is set to die by lethal injection at 7 p.m. at the Holman Correctional Facility in Atmore. Williams pleaded guilty in 2024 to Kamari's rape and murder and asked the court to sentence him to death. He also chose not to appeal his conviction, moving to death row in just over 2 years, much quicker than the national average of 22 years. But Kamari's father, Corey Holland, will not be allowed to witness the execution. He was indicted in 2022 over an alleged violation of a custody order, stating Kamari should not go with her mother, Christy Sipple. Sipple had custody at the time and is serving a 20.
Do you know why she should not have ever went with her mother? Because her mother sold her for $2,500. The dad knew the mother had problems. And so now he won't be able to attend the execution. She's not going to attend the execution because she's in prison for 20 years. I think she should have gotten the death penalty. She knew the man was going to kill her daughter. She knew it. But she let this happen anyway. This beautiful child, the beautiful child's life was taken by a pig. All right? Here we go.
Year sentence after pleading guilty to human trafficking charges in connection to her daughter's death.
So she a monster, psychopath, both of them. Like, nothing I have nice to say about them because what they did is unthinkable.
So pretty.
This is so hurtful because if anybody deserved to be that, it should be me. That nobody gonna be in that room love the Kamari more than me.
Tonight, WTVM will have live coverage, team coverage from Holman, including anchor Ben Stanfield inside the prison as a witness to the execution. Stay with News Leader 9 on air, our website, WTVM.com, and our news app throughout the day.
All right, here we go. I mean, I just wanted to show this to you guys, and let me go back and talk about him right here. This is going to be, come on a second, let me get down here. This is an execution vigil. I'm going to show you something and you're going to go, what the hell? Yes, but we're going to look at this execution vigil right here. I'm going to show you parts of this and we're going to talk about some other things. I need to figure out what time it is in Alabama right now because I want to be live when that motherfucker dies. I'm sorry, when that person dies. I'm sorry I said a really horrible word. I'm sorry. What time is it in Alabama? Okay. Get myself pulled together here. Thanks for coming in, guys. I know you're like, we're sick of seeing you, but I know y'all care about these things, and I know you care about these babies, and I know it makes you sick. So in Montgomery, Alabama, it's 5:35 p.m. All right. So let's go and watch this vigil for a second for Jeremy Williams, and this is going to be full credit to what's her name? Death Penalty Action. Here we go. Let me share this under fair use. Is it gonna pop up? Oh no, I can't do it right now. It's live.
My name is Joni Johnson.
Right. Okay, I don't think I can show it because it's live. I gotta wait till it's not live. Never mind. Well, let's talk about let's see what the DA has to say. Okay, we're gonna listen to the DA talk. Here we go.
Beginning with this story that got national attention and has wreaked havoc in the lives of so many in our communities. Jeremy Williams. He is in what Russell County District Attorney calls an elite class of criminals, not because of something good he's done, but because of the wrong he's committed against young children and women. Now, those crimes include suffocating, killing, raping children alive, and at least one who is dead. Now, continuing our team coverage from Atmore, Alabama, is Rosalind Giles, and that's where Jeremy is very close to being put to death for those acts of evil. Now, Rosalind, you talked with the DA, Rick Chancey, here about the magnitude, the hugeness, the scope of what he did, and the crimes were described as horrific. Now, who found out about him? How did it start to unravel?
Yeah, Dee, I'm going to get to that for you in just a moment. But first, I want to show you exactly where we are located here in Atmore, Alabama. I want to move out of the camera so I can give you a better view. We are just beyond the entrance to Holman State Correctional Facility here on State Route 21. Cars have been filing in there all day since we arrived here going into that direction. They're taking a right turn there, heading to the prison. We just saw Russell County DA Rick Chancey wave at us as he was going into that direction as well, going to the prison. We know that he cannot go inside there. We'll talk about that a little bit more. But Dee, now to answer your question, we do know it was through a confession from Jeremy Williams, who was 37 years old during his arrest in 2021. But it didn't come right away. In fact, Rick Chancey tells us that at first, Jeremy Williams was very belligerent. He was very adamant that he had absolutely nothing to do with the brutal killing of Amari Holland. December 13th, 2021, just days after five-year-old.
For fair use, we do have to stop and have some commentary. Let me say hello to everybody. Yes, okay. Yeah, my personal opinion is all pedos should be. I agree 100%, Leslie. Absolutely, they should. They should. Pam, I know Pam probably feels the same way. But the thing about this case is, okay, now, 5 years. This happened. He's getting the death penalty in 2021. We're over here in 2026. Boom, he's going to be executed at 7 p.m. tonight. That's it. That's over. Why is it for him only 5 years? Why is it for the other people 35, 45, 50 years? Why can't it be so fast? Right? So this is why I'm telling you something has to change about it. Yes, the death penalty, it should be legal and it should be used, but it should be used in an appropriate time frame, not 35, 45 years later. Here we go. I'm going to keep listening. Thank you for coming in to listen, guys.
Amari Holland went missing. Her body was found in Jeremy Williams's abandoned home on 15th Avenue in Phoenix City. 2 weeks later, Jeremy told jail officials he wanted to speak to a lieutenant.
The lieutenant canceled whatever plans he had for Christmas and went down there, and Jeremy began his confession of what he did to Kamari.
And others.
Gave details as to events in Alaska and other children here locally.
How many kids did he affect here locally and attack in Alaska?
2 children in Alaska that I know of, one being a death, his own baby.
What did he do?
He killed his little 1-month-old.
How?
If I remember right, he threw her down the stairs.
It was a boy or girl?
It's a little girl.
A little girl. Why did he say he did that?
If I recall, Jeremy doesn't like crying children.
Why did you choose not to prosecute the other cases that were revealed by Jeremy, cases against other little girls and victims that he had molested, raped here in Phoenix City?
So it's really, I guess, a matter of we didn't need it for criminal purposes. We had the highest charge we could have and confessions to those.
What do you think about this case?
But what bothers me about this one is we could have.
Oh, God.
You said you weren't going to make me cry, Rosa.
Sorry.
We could have caught Jeremy. We could have had Jeremy in
I'm
2005.
sorry,
We're that close. 2012. Maybe Kamari would be alive right now.
Yeah, a very emotional case for DA Chancey as well as the entire Columbus and Phoenix City community. What we are learning, though, is only the victim's family, also Jeremy Williams' family, and 3 media representatives along with clergy are among those who will be allowed in to witness this execution by lethal injection. And DA Chancey will be among the others who are waiting for updates at the nearby Fountain State Prison. Dee, back to you.
Roz, I have seen you covering this case for years now, and I understand that it's been very difficult for you, and you express some mixed emotions that you're glad it's over, but it's been hard. Thanks for the reporting.
I mean, babies cry. That's just how it is. Babies cry. We know that. We all know that. We've all had children. But this guy, I mean, let's see if I can find something from a while back that we can watch about him. Well, this is a pretty good one. This is 4 years ago, and this is from Law and Crime Network, and I think it's important to watch this one because it'll talk about some things that we didn't know. Okay, so speak credit. So let me go ahead and put it in here so we can watch. This is from 4 years ago, so let me give them full credit. All right. And this is the story about this little girl, and I'm glad they covered it. My plan is to stay on until I hear the words, the son of a bitch is dead. Okay? So just to let you know that, guys. All right. So you're right, Pam. Right. Okay, here we go.
First time around, you better not fuck up. Wanna be born again. I want a second chance. 'Cause this time around.
Come on, here we go.
Just because.
I want to get to where they're actually talking, not singing. Here we go.
On December 13th, in Columbus, Georgia, at 1607 Bowman Street, 35-year-old mother of four, Christy Marie Sipple, called 911 at around 6:15 a.m. in the morning to report that her 5-year-old daughter, Kamari Holland, was missing. Christy stated that she woke up to find that her daughter had vanished and whoever took the little girl left the door open in the process.
Let me see something.
Sadly, Kamari Holland was later pronounced dead at 11:15 p.m. that evening, less than 10 minutes away, in a cold, abandoned house just over the border across the Chattahoochee River in the 1100 block of 15th Avenue in Phoenix City, Alabama. The 5-year-old's body was sent for an autopsy where they hope to recover DNA evidence that can help solidify a verdict later on. In an emotional, teary-eyed statement made with WTVM-TV, Christy Sipple, who also goes by the name Christy Hoskins, told the company that, quote, "She was my life. I lived for her daily. She
lived for her daily, that she was her life, but she was only worth $2,500 to the highest bidder, right? To the person who would pay her $2,500 for her daughter, her own flesh and blood. Okay, here we go, guys.
My only girl. I have 3 boys, and her. She was just the sweetest girl in the world. You could not harm that little girl because she was so innocent. She was so smart. She was perfect." During the WTVM annual toy drive, Christy Sipple stopped by with a car full of her daughter's toys and said, "I'm Kamari Holland's mommy, and she would want nothing in the world but to donate her toys to another child that was in need because she was a very helping child." Police are said to have zeroed in on surveillance of the intersection around the house, quickly identifying the suspect. Then 37-year-old Jeremy Williams was arrested the same day as the 5-year-old's disappearance and promptly charged with the murder of Kamari Holland. He reportedly used to live at the Phoenix City address where the little girl was found. She had been strangled to death. Information provided to authorities had led police to the Bamboo Hotel where Jeremy and his uncle were staying. They had only arrived roughly 30 minutes prior to his arrest. Williams is said to be a regular at the hotel where he may or may not sell drugs in order to support his own habit. His uncle is not thought to be connected to the murder at this time as he was seemingly picked up shortly before the bust. And Jeremy Williams, well known to law enforcement, was reportedly out on bond at the time of Kamari's murder.
Did you catch that? He was out on bond when he murdered this little girl. I wonder what he's out on bond for. We need that information. Where did he get the $2,500? Oh, that's right, selling drugs, right? All right, here we go.
On December 14th, police investigated Jeremy's official home on Dozier Street in Columbus. What they found there remains unknown. Jeremy also may have actually been the one that led investigators to the 5-year-old's body. I'm simply not sure at this time. But here's what we do know. Jeremy Williams had a history. On August 1st of 2021, Jeremy Williams was arrested in Muskogee County on charges of simple battery, family violence, and third-degree cruelty to children, 2 misdemeanors that he pled not guilty to. And while he was never convicted as far as I can see, it seems that in this specific case, He was accused of slapping his wife in the face in front of a child. While certainly not very Jesus of him, it doesn't make him a murderer. But if we dig a little deeper, we find more disturbing allegations stretching back to 2009 in Marcel County, sorry if I didn't pronounce it right, when Jeremy was charged with aggravated child abuse. Hold on to your heart. This is the part when the severity of the disturbing nature of this case heightens. Jeremy Williams was accused of dipping a 3-year-old boy's body into a pot of boiling water from the waist down, obviously causing the child serious burns. But Williams claimed the boy accidentally...
Okay, y'all, hang on. All right, just a minute. This is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. I'm so sorry. But it's important to understand exactly what kind of a goddamn monster we're looking at. I'm sorry I said a bad word, but the type of monster we're looking at right here, right there in those eyes. This is horrific. I'm so sorry. Hello, Cinderella. Thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate seeing you. I hope you feel better. All right.
Pulled the water on top of himself, and after 3 years of litigation, a jury acquitted Jeremy in 2012 due to lack of evidence. And as if that wasn't disturbing enough, when I put down my shovel and started really diving into the past of Jeremy Williams, I found more information that really stained my mind. Police in North Pole, Alaska, have reportedly reopened a murder case from 2005 where a 1-month-old baby was murdered. She died from blunt force trauma. They think she was beaten to death. Her name was Nadia Trinice Williams. And as you probably guessed, her father was Jeremy Tremaine Williams.
This is the child that the DA just told us about, that he thinks that she just threw her down the stairs because she was crying. 1 month old. God. You know, how do these women hook up with these men? How do you get yourself into a relationship with a person like this? You have to see this before you ever get pregnant by them. My God, they're monsters. Okay, guys, here we go. Sorry.
Keeping an eye on Columbus nearly 2 full days after the body of a previously missing 5-year-old was found, authorities returned to the street today where 5-year-old Kamari Holland was last seen alive. Investigators appeared to be searching a house on Bowman Street in Columbus shortly before 5 o'clock this evening. Several unmarked law enforcement vehicles could be seen at a home on that street. Bowman Street is the area where Kamari Holland reportedly went missing in the early morning hours of Monday, December 13th. Her body was found later that night at an abandoned house on 15th Avenue in Phoenix City. We're learning new details tonight about the man charged with capital murder in connection with Holland's death. 37-year-old Jeremy Williams has a history of arrests, but no convictions that News 3 could find. He was charged with aggravated child abuse in Russell County in 2009 after allegedly immersing a 3-year-old boy in boiling water. A jury acquitted him in 2012. Williams was arrested again this August.
You got to ask yourself a question. How can he have been arrested all those times but never had a conviction until he killed someone? How does somebody like that slip through the cracks over and over? There's no way the 3-year-old child could have poured boiling water on himself like that. It'd be half of his body. There's no freaking way. You got to be kidding me. What kind of jurors? Oh my God. Okay, y'all, here we go.
In Columbus and charged with simple battery and third-degree cruelty to children. A police report alleges a minor child witnessed Williams slap his wife in the face. Williams entered a not guilty plea in state court just last week. At a news conference yesterday, Russell County Sheriff Heath Taylor said Williams was also the suspect in the death of a 1-year-old in Alaska, but he was never charged in connection with that death. There are ongoing investigations into Holland's murder in Columbus and in Russell County. Yesterday, Sheriff Taylor said he will not rule out additional charges.
There are address links to Jeremy in Alaska.
I mean, I want y'all to think about this. We've heard about a 1-month-old, a 1-year-old, a 3-year-old, and now a 5-year-old is dead. Well, we've got 3 kids dead. 1 is maimed for life, the 3-year-old. That's what this monster is. There you go. There he is. My God. There's something going on down the street as police are there. Oh, really, Pam? I'm sorry. Stay safe, sweetie. Stay safe. Stay with us and let us know what it is. Not being nosy, but I just want to make sure you're okay. You know, we want to make sure you're good. He is a coward. Damn right he's a coward. Okay.
At the Eielson Air Force Base, where Jeremy is said to have lived with Nadia's mother while she worked on the base. Jeremy was originally considered a suspect in the case, but investigators couldn't find enough evidence to convict him. So the case of 1-month-old Nadia Williams went cold. Until now. Furthering severe allegations towards Jeremy Williams, a police incident report obtained by News Leader 9 states that a 31-year-old unidentified female claims Jeremy Williams sodomized her the night before Kamari Holland's body was discovered in Phoenix City.
We start tonight with breaking news. We're learning disturbing new details about a new sexual assault case involving the man accused of killing a 5-year-old Phoenix City girl. Now, according to a Columbus police incident report obtained on News Leader 9, a 31-year-old woman claims Jeremy Williams sodomized her the night before Kamari Holland's body was found. The woman told police it happened at Williams' home, Dozier Street, on December 12th. According to the report, Williams called the adult victim by Kamari's name during the assault and told her he had taught a 5-year-old how to have oral sex. The following day, Kamari's mother reported her missing. She was found that night in a vacant home previously occupied by Williams.
The unidentified woman claims the assault took place at Williams' home on Dozier Street on December 12th.
I tell you what, that's just one person that reported him, because if he's done it to one, how many other people has he done this to? This is a serial rapist right there, and a child murderer and a predator. This is the kind of person that should never walk the face of the earth. All right.
She says she ended up at the accused man's house after having an argument with her boyfriend. With nowhere to go, she reached out to a friend who put her in touch with Jeremy. But while in his house, she started to get an uneasy feeling about him. When she tried to leave, Williams allegedly blocked the door with a deep freezer before grabbing the woman from behind and forcing her to perform sexual acts on him. Bizarrely, she claims Williams called her Kamari's name during the attack and confessed to her that he taught the 5-year-old how to perform oral sex. My blood's boiling. The victim explains in the report that the only way she could escape was to tell Williams where he could obtain drugs. Williams left the house with the victim and went to the store where Jeremy allowed her to use the bathroom. But he made her leave behind her phone and belongings first. Luckily for her, she had a second phone on her that she used to call for help while she locked herself in the bathroom. She remained inside until Williams left the area. So how on earth could someone like Jeremy Williams gain access to another child? How was he able to set his sights on 5-year-old Kamari Holland? Well, that is where this story will turn and swiftly kick you in the balls of your heart. You see, Christy Sipple may not be the innocent young mother she led us all to believe she was. There's information linking Christy and Jeremy to some kind of relationship, possibly sexual, and possibly drug-based. And it looks like Christy's not thought to be an award-winning mom. As a matter of fact, Kamari Holland's father, Corey Holland, had custody of the 5-year-old at the time. Christy reportedly only saw her on the weekends, and that was supposed.
And you think about that right there. And you know what else I want to know? I want to know how many times was CPS involved in that household? Just how many times? Because we know it goes together. And if he actually had custody of that child, and I guess she just got her for the weekend visit and decided, what the hell, I'm done, right? Oh. Is it one of those situations where he hooked up with her because he knew she had a young daughter, just like Steven Stearns? Is it like that? Another monster. Here we go.
Supposed to be supervised.
Oh my God.
She also previously went to court to be charged with abuse of a fetus for allegedly taking drugs while pregnant with her youngest son. Due to health reasons and COVID, this separate court case has reportedly been postponed until later this year. But I also read that Sipple is facing a failure to appear charge for a felony case regarding the chemical endangerment of a child back in 2008.
Hold on, guys. Remember, this is from 4 years ago that we're watching today. So that's why if you're going, what do you mean it's still pending? Yeah, this is a 4-year-old story. Here, sorry.
18. I'm not sure if this is the same case or not, but I thought it was worth noting.
I'm Kamari Holland's mommy, and she wouldn't want nothing in the world but to donate her toys to another little child that was in need because she was a very healthy child.
Oh, she looked like such.
She was a very sweet child. She was beautiful, sweet soul. Thank you. And I see this and I touch my heart. So I stopped. That she was, mommy, let's help that mommy. She's like that. She's like that. We were at the gas station one time and we seen a family out there and one of the little girls didn't have shoes on. And she said, mommy, we can help them, mommy, because I have so many pair of shoes at home, mommy. Let's give them my shoes, mommy. And of course we gave them her shoes because she's that caring. She had a heart. She had a spirit that she's been here before, and she was a blessing. She is a blessing.
How are you coping?
I'm coping. I'm making it. The media's making me look like I'm an evil person, but I'm not. I'm a mommy, and I did not have nothing to do with this. She was my life. I lived for her daily. She was my only girl. I had 3 boys in her.
Was she your youngest?
She was no, I have one more under her. I have my son under her. And it's hard. It's hard. I don't know if I'm coming or I'm going, but I'm doing it for her.
Do you have any support? Do you have people on your side? Someone's helping you?
Ain't nobody on my side. They didn't even tell me about the blue release today. They haven't even mentioned her funeral or nothing.
So will you get to decide that, or?
I don't think so. I think that's all Dad had custody of her.
Okay.
But you know what? I have my peace with her, and she's here in my heart, and that's all that matters.
Yes, you're absolutely right. I can't even fathom what you might be going through, but please know that our hearts and prayers are with you. And I know just at the station, we cover all kinds of news, but for whatever reason, just because of what happened, it has really hit hard for a lot of people.
And that's all you see over social media is her face. She was so loved. She was so loved.
Now she lived in Phoenix City.
Yes, she lived with Dad in Phoenix City, and she was with me. That Sunday I picked her up, and he prayed on her. I can't really talk about it. There's a gag order. So.
Okay.
I can't really talk about it. There's a gag order? What? Oh my God, I believe that was a lie right there. You know why she couldn't want to talk about it? Right. We know why.
We're not going to try to talk about that. Is her school doing anything?
I'm not sure. She was in school for like literally 3 weeks and then got kicked out because of coronavirus. Somebody tested positive in class. So we decided not to send her back. But she was so smart. She was just learning to spell her name. She'd see a K somewhere. She's like, Mom, that's Kamari. She was the best little girl ever.
So I understand she wanted to, I swear somewhere.
A princess. She wanted to be a princess. You can tell her nothing. All my makeup ruined, but she wanted to be a princess. She can have it. She can definitely be.
What would you want viewers to know about your daughter?
She was just the sweetest girl in the world. You couldn't harm her. She was just sweet. Like, you could not harm that little girl because she's so innocent, so smart. She was fantastic. She was
so innocent, so smart.
Well, my heart aches for you. And please know our prayers are with you. I know Tony gave you her card.
Yes. So, I've dropped off some presents and I still have some more. I can bring because that's what she would want.
Well, that's very sweet of you. And is there anything that you want to say to our viewers about
life's short? Definitely keep your loved ones close. You never know when it's going to be the end.
Bitch, you gotta love the child in order to be saying things like that. That right there, that is a monster. That is a monster faking it the whole way through. I verified there was no gag order. She was lying about that. She could talk about it, but she didn't want to. She didn't want the truth to come out. I wonder how long it took them to realize that she was paid $2,500 for this child. We're going to get into the whole story, but I just wanted to show some of the backstory here and, what happened. So here we go.
And I'm innocent. I had nothing to do with my daughter's disappearance.
I'm innocent. I had nothing to do with it. Why would she need to say she was innocent? Okay, you see that right there? Deception detective teaches us that she just did leakage right there. She just told on herself. Every one of these son of a bitches, we've seen it happen over and over and over. You start telling the story, and they're telling you bits and pieces of the truth. You just got to be smart enough to pick it out. Here we go.
Her murder. I would never.
Really?
It was my life.
Of course she was. She's your baby girl.
Exactly. Like, whoever could do that is just disturbing.
Whoever can do
Very
that.
sick in the head. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
No.
You like me. You like.
At this point, we believe that the mother and the offender did have a relationship, not from a dating perspective, but did know each other. The mother has been spoke to. We're going to speak to her again. I don't know how she's going to turn out, to be honest with you. She may be perfectly fine. She may not be. But that's just part of the investigation.
On December 28th, Christy was arrested at the Circle K on Victory Drive at around 1 p.m. with the help of federal agents. And get ready for that heart ball kick, because here it comes. According to recent court records, Christy Sipple and Jeremy Williams came to an agreement to sell or rent out Kamari for sexual abuse means. The exact amount the child was sold for, to my knowledge, has not been disclosed. But the judges presiding over the case have extended a gag order in all directions. So what you hear in this video will more than likely be all the information we'll get for a while.
Well, remember I told you at the point when she was talking right there was not a gag order. The gag order comes much later. So we're putting this together in pieces in the order that it goes. So hold on, let's keep going.
Kamari's father, Corey Holland, stated, quote, "The amount of pain Christy has caused by ripping Kamari out of our lives will never cease. We're glad to see that she's been arrested. We are one step closer to justice for Kamari. We hope that justice is served. Christy should receive whatever the maximum penalty she can get. She's a monster. A real mother protects and would die for her children. Christy is a monster. My family and I will continue to wrestle with the loss of losing our angel, Kamari." When talking about Christy Sipple, Russell County Sheriff Heath Taylor said, "She's been charged with murder during the course of kidnapping, murder during the course of rape, murder during the course of sodomy, and human trafficking." And a human trafficking warrant obtained by WRBL states that Christy, on or about December 13th of 2021, did knowingly subject another person to labor servitude or sexual servitude. She did agree with another person to pay her for sexual intercourse and sodomy with her minor child. It's also alleged that Jeremy Williams may face charges of capital murder, kidnapping, capital murder during rape, capital murder during sodomy, and production of child pornography. And to top it all off, I also heard a rumor that Williams is being charged with abuse of a corpse as well. Christy Sipple says, quote, "I'm a mommy. I did not have nothing to do with this." To which I agree. I believe you, Christy. I believe that you in fact didn't have nothing to do with what happened to your innocent daughter. And while innocent until proven guilty, and that's something I truly believe in, I also believe that you and Jeremy will be convicted in a court of law where you'll face the possibility of execution, something I think you both will enjoy. I know I will. It's a horrifying story. The death of a child. The sexual violation of a 5-year-old. No matter how many times something like this happens, to most of us, it's a level of unfamiliar evil. The actions of monsters. And if you ask me my theory, it's just a hunch. But I believe Kamari Holland was murdered before the 31-year-old female victim was assaulted on December 12th. It might even be possible that the little girl had been a victim of abuse for longer than we realize.
Kamari meant the world to me. Like, I would never be the same from this day on, but with all my family and friends, I guess they'll keep me strong. But Kamari is everything to me. And now she gone.
Her pranksters, she used to do all kinds of prankster stuff to her brothers and her mother and all of us. She was an angel, and now she will live as our angel.
I have a lady friend that knew her very well. She was with her the night she went missing. And when she gave Kamari, she never imagined that this would be the last time that she would see her alive, you know.
It's unbearable.
It is unbearable. And to hear and to have to hear what the monster did, and did you see her reaction? She's sitting over there giving away the child's toys and everything else, like she's some kind of innocent, caring person for other people. Oh God, it is unbelievable what people will do, especially to children, just babies, man, just babies.
It's like, it makes your stomach hurt. It hurts your heart. It's so overwhelming. I remember that big smile on her face. Give prayers for the family, praying for their support and their strength during this time of their bereavement. I pray that the Lord stay with them and keep them strong.
That we're really gonna miss her. We love her. Raquel definitely love her. Right? You want to say something to Kamari?
Yeah, she was my cousin, and all the smiles she gave me, she made me laugh.
I will never forget you, Princess. I will forever to keep you relevant in this life. Love you.
I watched the police press conference on this case. They couldn't give a straight answer as to when the poor child was actually murdered. They said it was so cold in the abandoned house that it might affect pinpointing details like that. That poor innocent kid. And that horrible man and woman. I want you to remember something. I just read out charges printed in the news in black and white, and I disclosed public information about this case. Because of that, YouTube will now suppress and restrict this video. But I don't give a fuck. The truth about what happened to this little innocent 5-year-old girl simply must be told. We have a right to know about the...
And guess what? I don't really either, because he's right. This story needs to be told. I want everybody reminded today of just why that monster is going to be executed. And he should have been, thank God it was only 5 years, not 25 years that he sat on death row. Yes, 100%. Thank you for sharing this. We're going to use it under fair use, and I appreciate your work so much. Here we go.
Dangers our children face, especially knowing that people that commit crimes like this have a tendency to get out of prison on parole and go on living a normal life. Sometimes these monsters can even bag an insanity plea and skip jail altogether. Then, as we all know, they end up right back on the street with a clean record and sometimes even a taxpayer-funded witness protection scheme in their court. So YouTube, I think it's fitting that we discuss the actions of the demons that walk around us. These details aren't fun. They aren't entertaining. They're outrageous and infuriating to attempt to comprehend. But the truth is simply necessary. We must remember Kamari Holland and honor her innocence by never letting her assailants forget what they did to her. And if they ever find themselves walking among us, I'd like the following 2 words to ring in their mind constantly when they're in our presence. They know. Because we do. We know what you did. And when justice fails to meet our expectations, we will never let you forget. I'm Mr. Black, and this is the disturbing truth.
All right, so that was an interesting video, wasn't it, from Mr. Black? But I really thought it said Long Crime made that video. Let me see. I guess they did. I guess it was Mr. Black with Long Crime, I guess. But anyway, very interesting. Here's the thing. Now, this is also from 4 years ago, but it is a little clip about when Russell County decided to add 3 additional capital murder charges on Jeremy Williams. So let's go ahead and watch it. It's going to be from WRBL News. Okay.
Disturbing new details are coming out in the murder and rape of 5-year-old Kamari Holland of Columbus. 37-year-old Jeremy Williams appeared briefly in a Russell County courtroom this morning to face 3 additional capital murder charges that carry the death penalty if convicted. News 3's Chuck Williams was in the courtroom and he joins us now. Chuck.
Teresa, these new details are incredibly disturbing and viewer discretion is advised. Jeremy Williams spent less than 10 minutes in front of Russell County Circuit Court Judge David Johnson. The new capital charges include murder in the course of kidnapping, rape, and sodomy. 2 additional charges, producing child pornography and the abuse of a corpse, provide more disturbing details. It is also alleged in the court documents obtained by News 3 that the girl died of asphyxiation at the time she was being sexually abused. The documents also alleged the sexual abuse was recorded in some manner. The court documents provide the details that Russell County Sheriff Heath Taylor and Chief Assistant District Attorney Rick Chancey can't because of the gag order.
The facts of the case are going to be a lot contained within the actual warrant. So past what's in the warrants, we're not going to be able to say much about the details leading to those warrants, but the warrants will speak for themselves and what the underlying allegations are. They're still, obviously it troubles us and the information that we have found out.
Defense attorney Chuck Floyd will continue to represent Williams on all charges. The next step is a preliminary hearing where the state will present its evidence against Williams. That has yet to be scheduled. The girl's mother, Christy Sipple, has also been arrested and charged in this case. She is facing 4 felony murder charges. She was also charged with human trafficking. Sipple was not in court today. Like Williams, she is awaiting a hearing in which evidence against her will be presented.
Thank you, Chuck. Williams will continue to be held in the Russell County Jail without bond. That is where he has been since he was arrested on December 13th.
Okay, now, here's what we're going to do next. We're going to go out here and I'm going to show you this document. And it is, let me share the screen with you so you can see it with me. This is going to be in a document about this case right here. Now, every death row, they get an automatic appeal. That's just kind of what happens, right? Whether they want the appeal or not, it's just automatic. It just happens. So, the thing about this guy is he stopped trying to appeal his case. He said, I don't want to appeal it. Just let me go. Just go ahead and execute me. It's fine. So we're going to go over his document, and this is from March 27th of 2026, and this is the opinion subject to formal revisions before publication in the Southern Reporter, and this is going to be from the Alabama Appellate Courts on this case for Jeremy T. Williams versus the state of Alabama. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read over this because my whole goal for tonight's live is because we are staying on live until that son of a bitch is pronounced dead and I can say time of death is X. That's what my plan is. Thank you so much for coming in with me. I appreciate you so much. Put them both. Thank you, Sarah. Put them both down. You're damn right, because they're animals, just animals. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to see new faces. Thank you, Sarah. All right, let's go ahead and read this while we wait to get this time of death. I mean, it's only 6:16 here. I think Alabama is on the exact same time that I am here in Texas, so we don't have it. Let me see what time it is right now. Current time in Alabama is it is 6:59. No, it says okay. AI. Let's see, what time is it right now? Let's find out what time it is in Alabama, and then we're going to go ahead and read this because I don't think that was the right thing. What time is it? Not what time they're going to do it. What time is it in Alabama? Right. All right. Here we go. Oops, making typos over here. It is 6:17 p.m. So we are on the same schedule as they are. We're in the same time zone as they are. So yes, thank you, Cinderella. All right, let's go. So this is the appeal from the Russell Circuit Court that Jeremy T. Williams appealed his guilty plea convictions for murder made capital because he intentionally caused the death of K.H., who was less than 14 years of age. And I'm not going to read all the numbers because that'll just make it take long. According to the Alabama Code of 1975, for murder made capital because he intentionally caused the death of K.H. Now, during the course of this first-degree kidnapping, for murder made capital because he intentionally caused the death of K.H. during the first-degree rape, and for murder made capital because he intentionally caused the death of K.H. during the first-degree sodomy. I hate to say it, but that's part of the case. Okay, guys. And his resulting sentence of death on March 13th of 2024, Williams filed a notice of his intent to plead guilty to the capital murder charges, as well as to various other offenses. At a hearing held on the date, the Russell Circuit Court, in accordance with Boykin versus Alabama and Rule Number 14.4, Alabama Criminal Code, informed Williams of the rights that he would be waiving by pleading guilty and questioned him to ensure that his decision was knowing and voluntary. And after determining that Williams, see, I have a little cutout spot. After determining that Williams included on his notice of appeal case number related to his guilty plea, his convictions for first-degree sodomy, for sexual abuse of a child less than 12 years of old, production of obscene material, abuse of a corpse, for first-degree human trafficking, and for conspiracy to commit first-degree human trafficking. However, because Williams neither preserved nor reserved an issue for appeal before pleading guilty, nor filed a written motion to withdraw his guilty pleas, he failed to invoke his limited right to appeal those convictions. Therefore, we dismiss the appeal insofar as it relates to those convictions. Now, this decision was knowing and voluntary and not the result of any coercion, threats, or promises. The circuit court accepted Williams' guilty plea, and a jury trial was conducted on the capital murder charges. Why, if he pled guilty, why do you have a jury trial? That's kind of strange, isn't it? After which the jury found Williams guilty of the charges of capital murder beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, following the jury's verdict, the penalty phase of Williams' trial began, and Williams waived the jury's participation in his capital sentence and waived his right to present evidence in mitigation. At the sentence phase, the circuit court sentenced Williams to death for his capital murder convictions. Here are the facts of the case. Now, they always give us the facts when we read these appeals. So just trigger warning, you're going to hear some terrible things, but it's just part of the legal document. And you know, I'm going to tell it just like it is, always. Okay. On December the 13th, 2021, K.H., a 5-year-old girl who was reported missing in Columbus, Georgia, Sergeant Ryan Batterman of the Columbus Police Department interviewed K.H.'s mother, Christy Sipple. Sipple did not have legal custody of K.H., but K.H.'s father, who had been vested with sole custody, had left K.H. in Sipple's care. Number 2, after an interview with Sipple, Sergeant Batterman sought an interview with Williams, who was one of the last. See, there's something missing right there. I guess they took part of it out. Okay, hang on a minute. After his blah, 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 interview with Sipple, Sergeant Batterman sought an interview with Williams, who was one of the last, and then there's a blank spot. Now, Sipple lost custody of K.H. due to her substance abuse issues. At the time of K.H.'s death, a juvenile court had in place a non-contact order received between Sipple and K.H. Now, here's the thing. If the mother had a no-contact order between her and this child, why in the world was the child in the custody of the mother? Now, that would be the father's fault because there was no contact order in place. Hang on, I put my dog in. People don't put no contact orders in place unless there's a reason for it. Come on, asshole. So that's the first thing that happened. So had the child not been in the custody of Sipple where she did not belong, maybe she would still be alive. Okay, here we go. It just gets even worse and worse, doesn't it? Okay. Now, individuals to be seen with K.H. Sergeant Batterman, though, was unable to speak with Williams about her disappearance. While researching Williams' background, Sergeant Batterman learned that a few days earlier, an adult female had been reported to law enforcement officers that Williams had forcibly sodomized her. A detail from the report of the incident that Sergeant Batterman found of particular interest hang on, roll this down, was that Williams was alleged to have stated to the victim that he had taught a 5-year-old girl named Kay how to perform oral sex, and that he wanted the victim to perform oral sex on him like Kay. Now, Sergeant Vetterman surmised, albeit incorrectly, number 3, that perhaps the victim had misheard Williams and that Kay was KH, who had a similar first name and was also 5 years old. Now, Sergeant Vetterman interviewed the victim and confirmed her statement. Sergeant Vetterman then obtained an arrest warrant for Williams in the sodomy case, as well as search warrants for Williams' property in Columbus. Now, while executing the search warrant, Sergeant Vetterman located a shed in the backyard. Inside was a child-sized foam chair and a peanut butter sandwich that had a child-sized bite taken out of it. Now, Williams' wife, in fact, okay, see, there's something missing right there. Williams' wife, blank. In fact, Kay is Williams' oldest daughter. Okay, that makes no sense. There's something missing right there, but we're going to do the best we can. Okay, so his oldest daughter arrived home during the search and asked about the purpose of the search. Sergeant Braden Dobbins spoke with her, and with a look of terror on her face, Williams' wife gave Sergeant Dobbins the address of the duplex in Phoenix City where that child would be if Williams had done anything to her. That's a very strange statement right there. Now, around that time, the officers with the Russell County Sheriff's Office located Williams at a motel in Phoenix City and took him into custody. Inside his motel room, officers recovered electronic devices and drug paraphernalia. An interview with Williams, however, did not lead to the whereabouts of KH. Sergeant Dobbins and other officers traveled to the Phoenix City address given to him by Williams' wife. The officers entered the empty duplex. In the basement, KH's naked body was found under a tarp. Now, investigator Brad Evans of the Russell County Sheriff's Office described the horrific sight. What did I see? A 5-year-old little girl. Rigor mortis had obviously set in. Okay, y'all, I'm sorry, trigger warning. Okay, just hang on. Legs up, spread, ligature marks around her wrist, around her throat, bruising on her face, and bleeding from her vagina and her anus. That's what I saw. Okay, I know that was horrific, but that's what it says. A couple of weeks later, on Christmas night, Williams notified the detention staff at the Russell County Jail that he wanted to speak with Lieutenant Steve Johnson. Now, Williams told Lieutenant Johnson that he had been praying the night before and wanted to speak about similar crimes to get it off his chest. Now, during the interview, Williams told Lieutenant Johnson, among things, about his daughter, Kay Williams, and stated that he had sexually molested Kay probably on a daily basis while they were living in Alaska, and that his abuse continued when the family oh my God, this bastard lived in Texas. Okay. So that, hang on. Oof. Okay, while they were living in Alaska, and that his abuse continued when the family relocated to Texas. Now, Williams admitted the sexual abuse typically took form of oral sex, and that he had shown Kay pornography to teach her how to do this. Now, Williams also spoke of his addiction to cocaine, and then for the last several years, methamphetamines. The interview turned to the victims following the family's move to Texas to Phoenix City, and Williams admitted that he had molested other young girls, though he could not remember their names. Of course not. He's not going to tell on himself. They spoke specifically about KH, and Lieutenant Johnson told Williams that the body had been found in a basement. Williams responded, "Well, then I did it." Shit. Okay, let me get this down here. Okay, now, so get rid of that part. Oh my goodness. So he says that he did it. Okay, let me come on down here. Good Lord. I've got to find out where's the other part here, because part of it's kind of cut off, so I've got to find this thing. Okay, it's right up here. Hang on a second. I had to open the whole page now. Just a minute, guys. Okay, let me take a break and I'll talk to y'all for a second, because this is hard to read. It's terrible, and I mean, well, they found the body. I'm glad he told on himself. I am. I'm glad he turned himself in. But how, if it's his daughter, these other two, how many other children has this piece of shit ruined? How many other children? How many children never said a word out of fear? Think about that. It's out of fear they don't speak. Okay, let me get up here where I was. Sorry, guys. Oh, I see what they did. Oh, boy. We got to get down here to the facts. We're on the first page. Okay, let's get on down here. He goes, well, he acknowledged his guilt. I remember that. Now, Williams told Lieutenant Johnson that he knew KH's mother, Christy Sipple, through a prostitute webpage called Skip the Game. Now, Williams had a sexual relationship with Sipple, and the two abused methamphetamines together. Now, Williams stated that on at least one occasion, he had been entrusted with Sipple's children while Sipple answered a prostitution call. This had surprised Williams because he had already told Sipple that he liked to have sex with smaller kids. Now, Lieutenant Johnson asked Williams about taking KH, and Williams disclosed that he had done so with Sipple's knowledge. In fact, that he had haggled with Sipple over a price for taking KH for a little while, and oh my God. Okay, hang on. Disclosed that he had done so with Sipple's knowledge. In fact, that he had haggled with Sipple over the price for taking KH with him for a little while and a little head, meaning oral sex. The two settled on $2,500 for William taking KH for 1 hour for oral sex only. Number 4, around 2:00 a.m. on December 13th, Williams took KH to his house in Columbus. Eventually, though, he and KH were seen by Williams. Okay? Williams admitted to Lieutenant Johnson, though, that he had no money and never intended to pay Sipple. All right. Then his wife, who told him, you can't be here with... Okay, so there's little pieces missing, so it's going to sound a little weird, but it's okay. We'll get through it. So Williams admitted to Lieutenant Johnson that though he had no money and never intended to pay Sipple, now the wife who told you can't be here with her, you have to leave. So, oh my God, this makes it even worse. So now listen to this. Hang on a minute, guys. Yeah, in my opinion, he was doing this he's done it his entire life. These people are predators their entire life. They don't grow out of it. They don't grow into it. It's always in their brain, right? Now, the part about this story that we're fixing to hear is the fact that the wife, Mr. Williams' wife, saw him with this little girl. She knew he had this problem, but had never called the police on him. And she's fixing to make a statement that's going to make you throw up. So hang on, guys. Okay. Williams admitted to Lieutenant Johnson, though, that he had no money and he never intended to pay her. Now, his wife, who told him, you can't be here with her, you have to leave. Williams left around 6:20 a.m., taking KH to the duplex in Phoenix City. Now, on the way, Williams showed KH some pornography. According to Williams, KH stated, I'm not going to do this, and Williams punched her in the head. Now, Williams parked on the side of the duplex so that his aunt, who lived across the street, would not know he was there. Williams again showed the pornography to KH, and Williams also smoked methamphetamine and made KH smoke it too. Now, Williams described for Lieutenant Johnson the sexual acts and that he forced KH to perform, including oral, vaginal, and anal. The abuse lasted about an hour to an hour and a half, and Williams characterized it as very rageful and sexually driven. So you can imagine the abuse this little child was. Oh, God. Now, Williams killed KH by choking her, and her death did not come quickly. Well, here's something that we've learned. We have learned from the Lindsay Clancy case that strangulation, they do not die fast, okay? It's not fast at all. That was something that we learned in that case, and it really bothered me when I heard how long it actually takes for somebody to die from strangulation. And it's very painful because okay, I'm not going to go there, but if you watch the Lindsay Clancy case, you're going to learn a lot about that, and it's so heartbreaking. All right, here we go. Okay. This is hard to read. According to Williams, it took 10 to 15 minutes for her to die. At one point, he thought she was dead, and he let go of her because his hands were tired. And he said the baby, KH, sat up and gasped for air and then fell back down. And he said, I went back to choking her again. Now, Williams used his cell phone to take photographs and to record videos of his sexual abuse of KH, which Williams admitted occurred. Both before and after KH's death, investigators recovered the photographs and the videos from Williams' cell phone. Standards of review. Rule 45A of Alabama Appeals, as an amended effective on January the 12th, 2023, provides, in a case in which the death penalty has been imposed, the Court of Criminal Appeals shall not be obligated to notice any plain error or defect in the proceedings under review, whether or not brought to the attention of the trial court, and to take appropriate appellate actions by reason thereof, whenever such error has or probably has adversely affected. What are you doing with that? Sorry, guys. Has adversely affected the substantial right of the appellant. This court will continue to review the entire record for plain errors in all cases in which the death penalty has been imposed. The standard of review in reviewing a claim under the plain error doctrine is stricter than the standard used in reviewing an issue that was properly raised in the trial court or on an appeal in Hall versus State. Okay, there's a bunch of, here's all that describes all these errors, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to read all that because it really has nothing. That's just what they're using to, for the law in this case. Discussion. All right. In early 2025, Williams mailed the Office of the Attorney General a series of letters that stated his desire to drop his appeals and to have an execution date set. Although Williams could not drop his appeals because his capital murder convictions and sentences of death were subject to automatic review, and under 13A-5-55 Alabama Code from 1975, it appeared to the parties and to this court that Williams sought to invoke his state law right to represent himself on appeal. See Ex parte Scudder. All right. Holding that taken together with 12-2230 and 15-1222B from the Alabama Code confer upon a defendant in a criminal case the right to represent himself on appeal if he desires to do so. To ensure that his decision was voluntarily and knowingly made, see Johnson versus State. Okay, so this court on May the 7th of 2025 remanded the cause to the circuit court with instructions for to conduct a hearing at which should apprise Williams of the of the dangers and possible disadvantages of waiving his right to appellate counsel and invoking his right to represent himself. Now, on May 23rd, 2025, the circuit court conducted a hearing in accordance with the court's instructions. During the hearing, the circuit court thoroughly informed Williams of the disadvantages and the consequences of self-representation and refusal to file an appellate brief. The circuit court determined, based on his interactions with Williams during the hearing and before, during, and after trial, that Williams' decisions were knowing and voluntary. Williams has indeed chosen not to file an appellate brief on his behalf, but his decision does not end this court's review. Because Williams was convicted of capital murder and sentenced to death, his appeal is automatic, and the court must review the propriety of the circuit court's findings that Williams' decision to represent himself on appeal and to forego filing a brief on appeal was knowing and voluntary, and the sufficiency of the evidence to sustain his convictions and the propriety of his sentences of death. Okay. Now, first, this court must review the circuit court's findings that Williams' decision to represent himself on appeal and his waiver of appellate counsel was knowing and voluntary. Now, civilly, at 406, this is some other, they're stating some other cases, which I'm not going to talk about. The court must also review whether Williams' decision to forego filing a brief on appeal was knowing and voluntary. In Ferretta versus California, the United States Supreme Court explained that although a defendant has the right to represent himself and waive the assistance of counsel, the intelligence of the waiver of counsel must be scrutinized. When an appellate manages his own appeal, he relinquishes many of the traditional benefits associated with the right to counsel. Because an appellant who invokes his state law right to represent himself and refuses to file a brief on his own behalf waives many of the traditional benefits. In order to represent himself, the appellant must knowingly and intelligently forego those relinquished benefits and should be made aware of the dangers and disadvantages of self-representation so that the record will establish that he knows what he is doing and his choice is made with his eyes open. Now, while it is desirable that the trial court engage, as it did in the case in colloquy, in which it expressly advises the defendant of the dangers and disadvantages of self-representation, that such is not mandated. Okay, let's go on down. The ultimate test is whether it appears from the record as a whole that the defendant's waiver of counsel and decision to represent himself were knowing and intelligent. Now, let's see. Under this approach, the focus of the inquiry is on the particular facts and circumstances involved, including the background, experience, and conducting of the accused. A trial court may consider the following factors in determining whether the defendant's decisions to represent himself was knowingly involuntary. Now let me see how many, hang on a second, let me see what time it is. All right, let me check with y'all right quick. It's 6:37. I'm just going to keep reading this while we get through this. We already know the facts of the case, and we know why he did not want to appeal. We know why he just wanted to go on and die. I guess because he realized that he would never be able to win. He would never get out of prison. He had 4 capital murder charges, not just 1, 4. Yeah, he's a proud piece of shit, isn't he? God, it's terrible. Okay, so anyway, let me go back and look at this and see if there's something we want to pull out of this. I don't know how many pages this is. There's no page numbers on this, which is very strange. Okay, so let's see. All factors need not point in the same direction. Williams was 40 years old at the time of the Ferretta hearing, and he was a high school graduate and a veteran of the United States Air Force. There was no evidence indicating that Williams suffered from any physical or mental issues that would have affected his decision making, or that he was under the influence of any drugs, legal or otherwise, or alcohol at the time of the hearing. Now, Williams, having already been through a trial at which he was acquitted of child abuse, see, this is what's horrible. Remember, he was acquitted of child abuse for dipping the child from the waist down in boiling hot water, right? How was he acquitted? That makes no sense. How could the jury be so stupid? Had they done the right thing then, no other child would have been injured. You know what? And this is going to sound so ugly, and I don't mean to be ugly, but let's think about this literally the way it is. Had that jury in that case made the right decision, we would not be talking about this right now, and other children would live. But I would like to ask the people on that jury, what made you think there was no proof he did that? What makes you think a 3-year-old can climb up there and put himself in hot water? Please tell me how that works, right? All right. Damn. Okay. Whew. Was quite familiar with the criminal judicial process. It appears from the record that Williams had ample contact with his counsel before and during the trial. Before trial, counsel had told the circuit court that he had been over and over in detail the implications of Williams' decision to waive the presentation of mitigation evidence. The only express frustration it could be called that was from Williams' counsel, who told the circuit court Williams admitted to Lieutenant Johnson that he had in fact committed the act of child abuse for which he had been acquitted. You hear that? He was acquitted, but he told Lieutenant Johnson he actually did put the child in the water. He admitted to it after the fact. If you were on that jury, I hope you feel like shit. I do. And I know this is mean, but I hope you feel like shit. Because of your decisions, other children died. Okay. God dang. I'm sorry, guys. It's really bad. So he admitted that he had in fact committed that act of child abuse for which he had been acquitted, that Williams had been uncooperative in their attempts to gather mitigation evidence. There was no question that Williams understood the significance of his convictions and sentences. In entering his guilty pleas, Williams explained to the circuit court that he wanted to expedite the process, and Williams agreed that the circuit court at the Ferretta hearing that his execution was what we were discussing here today. Williams testified that he had not been forced or coerced or threatened in any way in making his decision to represent himself. Now, at the Ferretta hearing, the circuit court informed Williams that he had the right to counsel and that if he could not afford counsel, counsel would be appointed for him. The circuit court thoroughly informed Williams of the dangers and difficulties of self-representation, particularly as an inmate without formal legal training. The circuit court discussed with Williams this court's automatic review of his convictions and sentences and the standard of review this court would apply if he failed to file an appellate brief. More to the point, the circuit court asked Williams if he understood. If you don't make any additional appeals, you will face execution sooner. Williams answers that he understood. Now, given the record before the court, we have no trouble concluding that Williams not only knowingly and intelligently and voluntarily waived his right to counsel, but he also his right to represent or present issues to this court as it reviews his convictions and his sentences of death. So additionally, we have no doubt that Williams decided to forego presentations of any issues in the review of his conviction and death sentence He could appreciate his position, and he knew that his life was at stake. Let's see. Therefore, the circuit court did not err in allowing Williams to exercise his right for self-representation in the appeal. Now, this is number 2. The court is obligated to review the sufficiency of the state's evidence to sustain Williams' guilty plea convictions for capital murder. Now, Williams pled guilty to 4 capital offenses. Murder made by capital because he intentionally caused the death of K.H., who was less than 14 years of age. Okay. And murder made by capital because he intentionally caused the death of K.H. during the course of a first-degree kidnapping. Murder made by capital because he intentionally caused the death of K.H. during the first-degree rape. And murder made by capital because he intentionally caused the death of K.H. during first-degree sodomy. In determining that the sufficiency of the evidence to sustain a conviction, a reviewing court must accept that the true and all evidence introduced by the state, accord the state all legitimate inferences therefrom, and consider all evidences in light most favorable to the prosecution. The test used in determining the sufficiency of evidence to sustain a conviction is whether, viewing the evidence in light most favorable to the prosecution, a rational finder of fact could have found that the defendant guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. When there is legal evidence from which the jury could, by fair inference, find the defendant guilty, the trial court should submit the case to the jury, and in such case, the court will not disturb the trial court's decision. The role of appellate courts is not to say what the facts are. Our role is to judge whether the evidence is legally sufficient to allow submission of an issue for decision by the jury. Okay. Further, in a capital case in which the defendant pleads guilty, the guilty plea may be considered in determining whether the state has met its burden of proof. The common element through all 4 of Williams' capital murder convictions is that he intentionally caused the death of K.H. A person commits an intentional murder if he intends to cause the death of another person. He or she causes the death of that person. K.H.'s body was found underneath a tarp in the basement of Williams' duplex. Now, Williams admitted to strangling K.H. to death, which aligned with the forensic pathologist's findings that K.H. died of asphyxia. Now, Williams explained to Lieutenant Johnson that he killed K.H. because although Sipple had agreed that he could engage in oral sex with K.H., he got carried away and just started raping her and penetrating her vagina and anus, and he knew that he would get caught for that. This was ample evidence that K.H. is dead and that Williams intentionally caused her death. I know that was terrible, guys. I know it. I'm sorry. All right. Now, Williams pled guilty to the murder and made capital because he intentionally caused the death of K.H., who was less than 14 years of age. The state presented evidence that K.H. was 5 years old at the time of her death. Thus, the state's evidence was sufficient to prove that Williams intentionally caused the death of a child less than 14 years of age. What time is it? Okay, 6:45. All right. Williams pled guilty to the murder to made capital because he intentionally caused the death of K.H. during the course of first-degree kidnapping. A person commits the crime of kidnapping in the first degree if he abducts another person with the intent to inflict physical injury upon him or to violate or abuse him sexually. Abduct means to restrain a person with the intent to prevent his liberation by either secreting or holding him in place while he is likely to be found, or prevent his liberation by either secreting or holding him in place where he is not likely to be found, using or threatening deadly physical force, and then it states the codes. A physical force or intimidation or deception. Any means including acquaintances of the victim, if it is a child less than 16 years of old, or incompetent person, and the parent, guardian, or other person is institutions having lawful control or custody of him. Boy, this is hard to read. Hang on. Institution having lawful control or custody of him is not acquainted in the movement or the confinement. The state presented evidence indicating that Williams took K.H. from Sipple's Columbus home with Sipple's permission, yet Williams did not have the consent under 13A-641B because Sipple did not have legal custody of K.H. Sole custody had been vested with K.H.'s father. Williams first took K.H. to his property in Columbus, but when Williams was seen by his wife with K.H., Williams took her to his duplex. See, I'm going to tell you something. I blame his wife. She should have called the police right then. She knew who that child was. She knew he had no business with that child. Stop it. I gotta pick up asshole. He wants to be in the picture too. Oh my God. So Yeah. So I don't understand. I will never understand why the wife did not call the police and let them know that he had this child in his custody and that she knew he was going to break and kill her. She knew it. She should have been charged as well. Don't y'all think she should have been charged? I think so. Y'all gotta quit now. Come on, quit. Let me put him down. He just thinks he has to be up here. Okay. There you go. You see? All right. There you go. There you go. Now go. So, yeah, I think the wife should have been charged 100%. Oh boy. All right, and quit now. Quit. Okay. When he was seen by his wife, K.H. Williams took K.H. to his duplex in Phoenix. Williams showed the pornography to K.H. while they traveled to Phoenix City and struck her when she refused to perform the acts in the pornography. Williams took steps to hide his vehicle at the duplex, and he secured K.H. in the basement of the duplex for the purpose of sexually abusing her in the basement. Williams bound and sexually abused K.H. and ultimately strangled her to death. Thus, the state's evidence was sufficient to prove that Williams intentionally caused the death of K.H. during a first-degree kidnapping. Now, Williams pleads guilty to murder made capital because he intentionally caused the death of K.H. during this first-degree rape. And okay, I'm going to skip past that because we've already read that. It's the same thing. They repeat the same thing a lot. Finally, Williams pleads guilty to murder made capital because he intentionally caused the death of K.H. during first-degree. Okay, get down. No. We're not going to read that. We've already read about the sodomy. Now, in addition to Williams' admissions to that he, an adult male, had sodomized K.H., a 5-year-old child, the officers who discovered K.H.'s body saw that K.H. had experienced anal bleeding. The forensic pathologist noted the same bloody discharge and testified that the damage to K.H.'s rectum was consistent with being anally penetrated. Thus, the state's evidence was sufficient to prove that Williams intentionally caused the death of K.H. during this first-degree sodomy. The evidence of Williams' guilt, all 4 capital murder charges, which included Williams' admission of guilt, was overwhelming. Consequently, the court has no trouble concluding that the state met its burden of proof for each conviction. Although no longer required by Rule 45A, we have nonetheless reviewed the record in this case, and we find no plain error or defect in the guilt or penalty phase of the trial. Now, pursuant to 13A 553, this court is required to address the propriety of Williams' capital murder convictions and his sentence of death. Williams was indicted for and convicted of murder made capital because of his intentional cause of death to K.H. Who was less than 14 years of age. Now, I'm not going to read through that because it's the same paragraph. Now, let's get past where they talk about this. Okay. The circuit court found only one statutory mitigating circumstance that exists, is that Williams had no significant history of prior criminal activity. He did have prior criminal activity. He was just never convicted of anything. And that's what's terrible about this. Okay. That Williams had accepted responsibility for his conduct. The circuit court found that the aggravating circumstances outweighed the mitigating circumstances and sentenced Williams to death. Our review of the sentencing order demonstrated that the circuit court properly weighed the aggravating circumstances and the mitigating circumstances and correctly sentenced Williams to death. The record supports the circuit court's decision. The record does not reflect that Williams' sentence of death was imposed as the result of their influence of passion, prejudice, or any other arbitrary factor. Section 13 requires the court to reweigh the aggravating circumstances and the mitigating circumstances to determine whether Williams' sentence to death was proper. After independently weighing the aggravating and mitigating circumstances, the court finds that Williams' death sentence is appropriate. I'm trying to keep up with the time too, guys. Hang on. As required by 13A, this court must determine whether Williams' sentence is excessive or disproportionate when compared to the penalties imposed in similar cases. Williams was convicted of 4 counts of capital murder during his kidnapping, rape, and sodomy of a 5-year-old, K.H. A sentence of death has been imposed for similar crimes throughout the state. Therefore, this court finds that their sentence was neither excessive or disproportionate. Accordingly, Williams' capital murder convictions and his sentence and death were affirmed for the reasons stated in Note 1. The proportion of Williams' appeal that relates to his non-capital convictions is dismissed, affirmed in part, appeal dismissed in part, plain. So that is it. These are the judges that signed off on it. And these are all the cases that they stated, through this appeal. So there's the appeal. So he gave up his right to appeal, and he decided to just go ahead and take the death penalty. I mean, this is absolutely terrible. Just terrible what this guy did to this poor little 5-year-old girl. Now, it is right now 6:52. Let's go out and let's get rid of some of these things. I got too many things open over here. What I want to do is I'm going to go out and we're going to find whoever is at the prison right now, because they're going to do this soon, and we want to be ready. We want to be there when they pronounce him dead, so we can let everybody know that he is dead. And I wonder how the mother is feeling at this time. Let's see. I guess it would be Alabama. Hang on a minute. Let me figure out which news station, which Alabama news. Live on scene. That's what I want to know. Live on scene. Here we go. Let's see. Okay. 1 hour ago. This is going to be from, let's see, the state of Alabama. That was 2 days ago. Hang on, 6 hours ago. Just a second. 11, 1 hour. I want to see somebody that's at the prison right now waiting for this to happen. Okay. Here we go. I guess we'll go right here. We'll just get right here. All right, now this is going to be, oops, I got to share my screen, y'all. Thank you for coming in and watching this with me. I appreciate it, guys. You know I have a passion for this stuff. We just have to do the right thing. This is going to be from WTVM News, WTVM News 9. So let me give them full credit, and then we'll listen to that. Okay, credit is, hang on, WTVM 9. All right, there we go. So we're going to give them full credit, and then we're going to show this. Hang on, stop there. All right, here we go. Let me make this big, and here we go.
2 hours, Jeremy Williams, the man charged with the rape and murder of 5-year-old Kamari Holland, will be executed.
Williams, if you remember, pleaded guilty and requested a speedy execution during his 2024 trial, making him the first to be executed in the state so far this year. Newsletter 9's Talia Cavallini is at our East Alabama Bureau with an expert on the death penalty ahead of tonight's execution.
So, Talia, how does the state conduct these executions, and what's the history behind it?
Well, Barbara, Jason, there are 3 execution methods in Alabama, those being electrocution, lethal injection, and nitrogen gas. Now, nitrogen hypoxia was found unconstitutional back in June when the inmates were suffering as they suffocated to death, but it's lethal injection that has caused the most issues in recent years, which is how Williams will be executed tonight.
And unfortunately, Alabama has a history of botched executions. We saw a number of very troubling executions in 2022 using lethal injection.
The executive director of the Death Penalty Information Center says executions can go wrong when there's poorly trained staff and when there's not enough information.
Well, one very troubling aspect of Alabama's death penalty is that we don't have a lot of information about how it conducts executions.
The Alabama Department.
What? I mean, it's lethal injection. Well, how much information do you need, right? I mean, does that even make sense? This is a young person. He's what, 45, 46 years old? He doesn't have collapsed veins. There should be no mistakes here. Here we go, guys. Thank you for being here. Let's go.
Of Corrections keeps their execution protocol confidential, leaving the type of drugs and cost of execution secret to public.
The protocols that have been released to the public are heavily redacted, meaning that the American public and the people who live in Alabama don't have any understanding of how this execution will be carried out.
There were 23 new death sentences nationwide last year compared to 43 in 2018. And Robin Maher says that's greatly due to a rise in public attention to high-profile capital cases.
Just 52% of the country supports the use of the death penalty generally. And we also see that opposition has grown, nearly tripled in the past few years.
The average time spent on death row is 22 years, but Jeremy Williams was on the list for just over 2 years.
He wanted to be sentenced to death, and he asked the jury to sentence him to death, and then he told his lawyers not to present any information for his appeals. So this is a very, very unusual death sentence. Again, the jury did not have the information that other juries have about who Mr. Williams is.
Alabama ranks 7th nationally for amount of executions in the modern death penalty era. Now, they also have 159 inmates currently on that death row registry, and it also has the record for longest botched execution in 2022 when lethal injection took 3 hours. In
Oh,
Auburn,
God.
I'm Talia Cavallini, WTVM News Leader 9.
All right,
Okay,
Talia, thank
let's
you.
take
As
a
we said,
look at
much more
something
coming
real
up
quick.
on our news at 5:30 and 6.
Okay, so we know we're going to just wait that station. Let's go out and let's go look at this botched execution for Alabama. 3 hours. What do you mean? Let's see what happened there. Instead of her just saying it was botched, what really happened? Damn, that's a long time, isn't it? All right, 3 hours. Alabama. Alabama. All right, let's see what it was. Alabama's execution window 3. Okay, let's see. Well, here's how they do it. If y'all just really want to know, so they have a witness transport. They take the people into the prison. Then they have an IB team prep. Then they have any last minute legal filings, which we know are not going to happen in this case. Then there's a media pool delay because they've got to set everything up. And then there's inmate medical checks. I guess they make sure they're healthy enough to execute, if that makes any sense at all. Now, the executions still proceed as long as it's within the authorized window. Alabama has used a long window before. Past executions have started 2 hours late, 4 hours late, even 6 hours late. But here's what I want to know. Which inmate, had a botched execution? That's what we want to know right this minute while we wait. All right. Okay, there's a guy, his name was Doyle Lee Ham. This was in 2018. He had a failed execution. Execution team could not find a usable vein. They punctured his legs, growing in bladder. After 2.5 hours, the execution was called off. Ham survived. Alabama later agreed to not try again, and he was one of the most infamous botched executions in history. I don't know what happened to him after the fact, but he did not get executed. Then there's Alan Eugene Miller, 2022. Executioners tried for 90 minutes to place an IB line, could not establish a venous access. Execution was abandoned, and Alabama later switched him to nitrogen hypoxia and carried this out in 2024. Now, nitrogen hypoxia is also a very controversial type of death. They talk about the fact that it's too violent. Okay, so there's been several people who had elected to have the gas chamber, but then once it was deemed to be too violent, they did not execute them because there was a small time when these people could choose their own type of execution, right? They could pick however they wanted to be executed. And so some of the people picked gas, some of the people, so once they decided the gas was too violent, they couldn't do it. They could not just automatically assign a different execution method because these inmates were allowed to pick their own method. So they had to go back and go before the court and get permission to allow them to pick another method. Now, does that make any sense at all? No, it does not. It's another one of those situations where the victim does not have the same rights that the inmate does. The inmate seems to have more rights than the victim, and that's just disgusting, isn't it? So then we have Kenneth Eugene Smith, 2022. He had a botched attempt as well. His IV team struggled for over an hour and could not place the second line. Execution was halted, and Alabama later executed him in 2024 using nitrogen. Then there's the matter of Jeremy Williams, which is going to happen tonight. Now, the IV access are common problems, right? So we hope there's not a delay. Let's see. We've talked about all those. We are to the point now, it is 7:03. All we can do, and I'm going to get over here, let's get over here on X, because a lot of times X will have the time faster than we have the time. So I would expect this to go pretty darn fast, X. Let's go on to x.com. Let me pull it up. No, come on. Yeah, I want to go there. Come on. It's telling me, what do you mean X? X.com, stupid. Hang on, guys. Let's go. We're going to go to X and we're going to start looking for this and see if we can find it quickly. So, Jeremy Williams. Hang on. See who is at the prison right now waiting for this to happen. Okay, national conservatives. All right, here we go. Let me change the screen so you can see what I'm seeing, and we'll talk about this right here. All right, let's share that screen. Hang on, share the screen. All right, here. Okay, there. Now, we're going to go ahead and look at this. This is from 5 hours ago. Jeremy Williams, 41, is scheduled to die by lethal injection today at 7 p.m. in Alabama. Okay, we know that. Look at that precious little girl. Do y'all see that picture? Do y'all see that precious little girl right there? That is so sad. Usually what happens is all of a sudden we'll see something that flashes up on X that says, hey, time of death is. So that is what we're going to sit here and wait on. And you'll also see that the Catholic, I don't remember what it's called, it's Catholic something. They all go out to, they have a group that goes to every one of these executions, and they go and they sit out there and they have a prayer vigil for these people that are going to be executed. You'll see that a lot of the times on X as well. So let's pull it back up. Let's see. Equal Justice Initiative. This was 13 minutes ago. The state of Alabama executed Jeremy Williams tonight. Oh boy, give me this time of death. Here it is, guys, right here. Alabama has executed Jeremy Williams. This is according to ABC. Here we go. Let's pull up this. Here we go, guys. Jeremy Williams was executed by lethal injection Thursday evening for the 2021 capital murder of 5-year-old Mary Holland after Governor Kay declined to intervene. I need to know his time of death. That's all I want to know is his time of death. We know what the piece, okay. The time of death was, let me get this right here. All right, guys. Here we go. Copy this. Get rid of that. All right, guys, hang on. Get rid of that. Go my StreamYard, and we'll put this right here, and we'll put it up. So he is officially dead. He has been pronounced dead. Here we go. There you go, guys. Look, let me put this up here. The time of death was August the 13th at 6:16 p.m. They've done it. It's over. He's gone. He's dead. No more. No more problems. Nobody ever has to worry about that piece of shit again. Thank you guys for coming in and waiting with me. I wanted to be able to announce what time that piece of shit was put to death on my channel. I appreciate you so much coming in. You know, I always like seeing you guys. I'm probably not going to go live tomorrow because our trial starts on Monday, back on Monday. But I am going to go live on Sunday. Myself and Sprinkle are going to do a big show about executions and some of these criminals and their backgrounds. Ones that have had appeals, ones that have, you know, their oral arguments, and they just have this long history of all these appeals and shit that happens. It makes me so mad because we need to make a change. Something has to change in America when it comes to the death penalty. We can no longer have people on death row 50, 45, 35, 40, 60 years, 50 years. I think the longest person on death row is 50 years, I believe. Let me do a fact check real quick. Longest on death row. Hang on. I want to make sure my facts are right. All right, here we go. Longest on death row is Ray Miles out of Texas. 1976, he was sentenced. Yeah. Good night, everyone. Thank you, Leslie. I know I got to go mod for some other people too. I know, but listen, this guy was the longest was 48 years, and he was sentenced in 1976. There was one that was on there 39 years. This was in Florida. Then we have one that was another 39 years, 28 years, 45 years. Michael Wayne Reynolds was 45 years. That's a long time, right? All right, but he was on death row. So with that, we're going to say good night, goodbye. I've got to wash my hair. Anyway, thank you for coming in. Love you all. I'll see you somewhere out in the YouTube world. I'll see you on Sunday afternoon. Hey, what do I always tell you? I tell it every single time, and I will tell it every single time. Be careful out there. Take care of yourself, and go hug your babies. You know, life is short. Our time with them is short. See you later. Bye, guys. Thank you.